I lost 200 cassette tapes in 30 seconds, years of music, mixtapes from friends, recordings I made myself, concert bootlegs, irreplaceable. Someone broke into my car, stole the shoebox under my seat. That Christmas, my brother gave me a CD player. "These can't be erased," he said. "They're indestructible." I never imagined I'd one day carry 50,000 songs in my pocket. Margaret's shop sits on a corner in Brooklyn that time forgot. Between a bodega and a laundromat, the storefront window displays a dozen typewriters. Royals, Underwoods, Smith Coronas, and ancient Remington. Most people walk past without looking, but those who notice, who stop, who push open the door with its jangling bell, they're the ones who understand. She's 63 now, been fixing typewriters for 40 years. Started as an apprentice to old Mr. Kozloff in 1984, when typewriter repair was already becoming obsolete. Learned from him until he died in 1992, left her the shop, the tools, the knowledge. She's been here ever since. The shop smells like machine oil and old paper and metal. Workbenches line the walls, covered with disassembled typewriters, springs and keys and ribbons. Parts organized in wooden drawers, labeled in faded handwriting. A 1950s Royal sits on the counter waiting for pickup. An IBM Selectric from the 1970s sits partially disassembled on her main workbench. Margaret knows every typewriter by touch, can diagnose problems by the sound of the keys, the resistance of the carriage return. She cleans and oils and adjusts, replaces worn parts, brings dead machines back to life. It's meditative work, precise and tactile. Each machine is different, has its own personality, its own quirks, but what she really collects are the stories. The 1942 Royal Quiet De Luxe Mrs. Chen brings it in on a Tuesday morning. Small woman, 80s, struggling with the weight of the case. Margaret helps her lift it onto the counter. "My husband's," Mrs. Chen says. "He died last month. I want to use it to write his obituary. Seems right, you know. He wrote everything on this machine." Margaret opens the case. A 1942 Royal Quiet De Luxe, black and chrome, portable model. She lifts it out, sets it on the counter. The keys are worn smooth, letters barely visible on the most used ones. E-A-T-O. The carriage moves stiffly. The ribbon is ancient, dried out. When did he last use it? 1970s, maybe, before we got the electric typewriter. But this was his first. Bought it when he came back from the war. Wrote his college papers on it. Wrote letters to me when we were courting. Wrote his dissertation. Margaret examines it closely. The mechanism is gummed up with decades of dust and dried oil, but it's salvageable. "I can fix it. Need about a week." Mrs. Chen nods, leaves it, walks out slowly. Margaret carries the Royal to her workbench, begins the careful process of disassembly. As she works, she notices things, scratches on the case, wear patterns on specific keys, small dent in the space bar. Someone spilled coffee on it once, decades ago. There's still faint staining in the key wells. She removes the ribbon spool, unspools a few inches of the old ribbon, holds it up to the light. Can barely make out the impressions. Each key strike leaves a faint mark on the ribbon before transferring to paper. If you know how to look, you can read the last things typed, backwards and faint, but readable. Margaret has done this before. Reads ribbons like archaeologists read artifacts. It's invasive, she knows, an invasion of privacy. But the people are dead or gone, and the stories are fading, and someone should know. She carefully unspools the ribbon, reading backwards. Most of it is too faded, but there are sections here and there, clear enough. My dearest Margaret, I'm sitting in the barracks thinking of you. The rain here never stops. Everything is mud and green and wet. I close my eyes and remember. The ribbon fades. She unspools more. Dissertation committee accepted the revisions. Dr. Morrison was impressed with Chapter 4. I think I'll defend successfully. This degree will change everything for us, I promise. More fading. She keeps unspooling, months or years passing in reverse. Can't stop thinking about the way you smiled when I asked you to dance. I'm not good at this, at saying what I feel. But with you, I want to try. You make me. Margaret stops, sits back. This machine typed love letters, typed a dissertation, typed hope and fear and longing. Mr. Chen, young and in love, pecking out words with 2 fingers, trying to express feelings bigger than language. She thinks about Mrs. Chen, 80-something widowed, wanting to write her husband's obituary on the machine he used to write her love letters. Symmetry, beginning and end, connected by the same keys. Margaret spends the week restoring the Royal, cleans every part, replaces the platen, installs a new ribbon, tests it thoroughly. The keys strike clean and even. The bell rings. The carriage return has that satisfying mechanical snap. When Mrs. Chen picks it up, Margaret shows her how to load paper, adjust margins. Mrs. Chen types a few test words, slowly. Her hands tremble slightly, but the keys respond. She smiles. It sounds the same, exactly the same as I remember. Same machine, just cleaned up. Mrs. Chen takes it home, returns 2 weeks later with a single typed page in an envelope. His obituary. Would you like to read it? Margaret reads it. Simple, direct, honest. Lists accomplishments, but also habits, quirks, small kindnesses. The kind of things you only know from living with someone for 50 years. At the end, he wrote me love letters on this typewriter when we were young. I wrote his obituary on it now that he's gone. The keys remember both. Margaret files the obituary in a folder she keeps in her desk. Stories the typewriters tell her, stories worth preserving. The IBM Selectric duo. James brings in the Selectric on a Friday. Afternoon. Young guy, 30s, handles it carefully. It's heavy. Selectrics are tanks, solid metal, built to last forever. My grandmother's, he says. She was a novelist. Used this machine for 30 years. Wrote 18 books on it. The last one she never finished. Died before she could type the final chapter. I inherited it. Want to use it to write. But it's not working right. Keys stick. The ball doesn't rotate properly. Margaret examines it. A 1975 IBM Selectric 2. Tan-colored. The iconic golf ball typing element. Revolutionary when it came out. No moving carriage. The ball rotated and tilted to strike different letters. Faster, cleaner, more reliable than traditional typewriters. These are complex machines. Lot of moving parts, but they're repairable. I'll need a few days. James leaves it, clearly reluctant to let it go. Margaret has a special relationship with Selectrics. They're the last great typewriters, the peak of the technology before computers killed the industry. Mechanical marvels, precise and powerful. She's restored dozens. She opens this one up, examines the mechanism. The main drive belt is worn, needs replacement. The escapement mechanism is gummed up. Some of the internal springs have lost tension. All fixable. As she works, she notices the wear patterns. The spacebar is heavily worn. This machine typed a lot. The most common keys, E, T, A, O, show significant use. The carriage release is smooth from thousands of uses. The correction key is worn. This writer made mistakes, went back, fixed them. Selectrics don't have ribbons you can read. They use cartridges, and this one's cartridge is long gone, but the machine itself tells stories through wear. Margaret imagines James's grandmother, sitting at a desk, feeding paper into the Selectric, typing novel after novel, the machine humming, the ball spinning and clicking, words appearing. The immediacy of it. You type, and the word is there, permanent, on paper. No delete key, no backspace that erases. You make a mistake, you use correction tape or retype the page. This machine knew the grandmother's rhythms, knew when she wrote fast, inspiration flowing, knew when she wrote slowly, searching for words, knew her mistakes, her corrections, her habits. The machine was her partner, an extension of her mind. Margaret thinks about how writing changed with computers, the ease of deletion, revision, endless editing. Writers now can endlessly tinker, never committing. Typewriting was different, more deliberate, more final. You thought before you typed because retyping was labor. The resistance of the keys made you more careful. James's grandmother wrote 18 novels on this machine, made decisions, committed to words, lived with imperfection. The machine enforced a different relationship with text. Margaret spends 3 days restoring the Selectric, replaces the belt, cleans and lubricates the mechanism, adjusts the springs, installs a new ribbon cartridge, tests it extensively. The keys respond perfectly. The ball spins smoothly. The mechanism hums. When James picks it up, she demonstrates, types a sentence. The machine responds instantly, precisely. He watches, mesmerized. It sounds alive. It is, in a way, mechanical life. Your grandmother put a lot of hours into this machine. It remembers her. James sits down, types slowly. Chapter 1. Pauses, looks at the words on paper, smiles. I can feel her here, in the resistance of the keys, in the sound. She spent thousands of hours with these sounds, this feeling. Now I'm connected to that. He takes the Selectric home, returns months later with a completed manuscript, 300 pages, all typed on his grandmother's machine. I finished her last novel. Well, my version of it. Used her notes, her outline, felt like she was there, guiding me. The machine made that connection real. Margaret files a copy of the first page in her folder. Another story the machines tell. The 1960 Hermes 3000. The Hermes arrives by mail, carefully packed. A note inside. Found this in my father's storage unit. He was a journalist, traveled all over the world with this typewriter. Died 10 years ago. I'm cleaning out his things. Can't keep it, but it deserves to be. Restored. No rush. Whatever you can do. Margaret unpacks it. A 1960 Hermes 3000, Swiss-made, one of the finest portable typewriters ever manufactured. Precision engineering, smooth action, legendary reliability. Journalists loved them. Rugged enough to survive travel, precise enough for professional work. This one is battered. The case is scarred with travel stickers from hotels and airports. Bangkok, Cairo, Mexico City, Berlin. The machine itself is worn, but solid. The keys are smooth. The carriage still moves. It's been used hard, but maintained well. She begins the restoration. As she cleans, she finds things. Sand between the keys, from a beach, a desert, faint water staining, rain, spilled drinks, a small dent in the back, dropped once, survived. This machine traveled, saw the world, documented history. Under the carriage, carefully folded and hidden, she finds a piece of paper. Yellowed, fragile. She unfolds it carefully. A typed note, dated 1972. If you're reading this, I'm probably dead. This typewriter has been with me for 12 years, through 27 countries, 3 wars, countless stories. It never failed. never jammed at the crucial moment, never let me down. It's more reliable than any person I've known. Whoever has it now, treat it well. It has stories to tell. M.R. Margaret sits back. M.R., the father of the person who sent it. A journalist who trusted his life to this machine. Typed stories in war zones, in hotels, in airports. The machine was his constant companion, his tool, his partner. She continues the restoration with extra care. This machine deserves respect. Cleans every part, replaces worn components, brings it back to perfect working condition. When she's done, it types smoothly, precisely, ready for another lifetime of stories. She photographs it, posts it on her website, a service she offers for special machines. Restored 1960 Hermes 3000, journalist's companion, available for good home. A young woman responds. Freelance writer just starting out, can't afford much. Margaret sells it to her for $200, half what it's worth. This machine traveled the world, Margaret tells her. Documented wars, revolutions, human stories. It has history. Honor that. The young woman takes it carefully, reverently, returns a year later with pages of articles, all typed on the Hermes. You were right. There's something about typing, the deliberateness, the commitment. I write better on this than on my laptop. The resistance makes me think more carefully. Margaret smiles. The machine continues its work. Different hands, same purpose. The Underwood Standard. It arrives on a dolly, too heavy to carry. A 1920s Underwood Standard, full-size office model. Black enamel, gold lettering, massive and imposing. The woman who brings it is middle-aged, emotional. My great-grandfather's, he was a lawyer, used this typewriter for 40 years. Every legal document, every letter, every brief. This machine built his career. He left it to my grandfather, who couldn't bring himself to use it. Left it to my father. Same thing. Now it's mine. I want to use it, want to honor him. But it's broken. Margaret examines it. The Underwood is frozen, seized up from decades of neglect. The keys don't move. The carriage is stuck. Rust and corrosion everywhere. This will be major surgery. It's bad, but it's an Underwood. They're built like tanks. If anything can be saved, this can. But it'll take time, weeks, maybe months. The woman nods. Whatever it takes. Margaret begins the long restoration, disassembles the entire machine, down to individual parts, soaks components in penetrating oil, removes rust, replaces irreparable parts. It's the most challenging restoration she's attempted in years. As she works, she thinks about the great-grandfather, a lawyer in the 1920s, 1940s, when legal documents were typed, not printed. Every word mattered. No delete key, no spell check. You made a mistake, you retyped the entire page. The precision required was enormous. This Underwood typed contracts, wills, briefs, documents that shaped lives, settled disputes, transferred property. The machine was an instrument of law, a tool of justice. The weight of the keys, heavy, requiring force to strike, enforced thoughtfulness. You couldn't type casually on an Underwood. Every keystroke was deliberate. Margaret spends 2 months on the restoration. Gradually, the machine comes back to life. The keys begin to move. The carriage unsticks. The mechanism, cleaned and oiled, starts working again. Finally, she reassembles it, installs a new ribbon, tests it. The keys are heavy, requiring real force. The mechanism is loud. Clack, clack, clack. The bell at the end of each line rings sharply. This is a serious machine, built for serious work. When the woman picks it up, Margaret demonstrates. Types a sentence slowly. The keys resist. then strike with authority. The letters appear on paper, sharp and clear. The woman tries it herself, struggles with the heavy keys, then gets the rhythm. It's like, commanding the machine. You have to mean it. That's typewriting, especially on these old standards. They demand intention. The woman takes it home, returns 6 months later with a leather-bound journal filled with typed pages. I've been writing family history, stories about my great-grandfather, research into his cases, transcripts of interviews with people who knew him, all typed on his Underwood. It felt right, like he was there, guiding my hands. The weight of the keys reminded me that these stories matter, that recording them is serious work. Margaret adds a page to her folder. The Underwood story continues. What the machines remember. Margaret sits in her shop late at night after hours, surrounded by typewriters. She thinks about what she does, why it matters. Typewriters are obsolete. Everyone knows this. Computers are better in almost every way. Faster, cleaner, more versatile, easier. Word processors let you revise endlessly, fix mistakes instantly, format perfectly. Email replaces letters. Printers produce clean documents. There's no rational reason to use a typewriter, but people still come to her shop, still bring her their old machines, asking for restoration, still want to use them, write on them, connect with them, because typewriters offer something computers don't. Resistance, permanence, physicality, ritual. When you type on a typewriter, you feel it. The resistance of the keys, the impact of the strike, the bell at the end of the line, the carriage return, that satisfying mechanical snap. It's tactile, embodied, real, and it's permanent. What you type is there, on paper, immediately. No delete key, no easy way to erase. Mistakes stay, corrected awkwardly with whiteout or by retyping. This permanence changes how you write, makes you more careful, more thoughtful. You commit to words. Computers let you endlessly revise. Draft, redraft, tweak, polish, never quite finishing. Typewriters force completion. You type the page, it's done, you move on. The resistance creates forward momentum, and there's ritual, loading paper, setting margins, positioning your hands, the rhythm of typing, the sound, the physicality. It's meditative, focused, cuts through digital distraction, creates space for concentration. Margaret knows all this intellectually, but she also knows it emotionally through the stories the machines tell her. Mrs. Chen's husband typing love letters, James's grandmother writing novels, the journalist traveling with his Hermes, the lawyer working on his Underwood. These machines were partners, tools, yes, but also companions. They shaped thought, enabled creativity, preserved memory. Each machine carries history, the wear patterns, the scars, the modifications. A typewriter with heavy E and T keys belonged to a writer. A machine with worn number keys belonged to an accountant. Different people, different purposes, all leaving traces. Margaret's job is restoration, but also preservation. She brings machines back to life, but she also reads their stories, documents their histories, honors their past lives. She keeps the folder of stories in her desk, pages from obituaries, first chapters, family histories, letters, physical documents typed on restored machines, evidence that these machines still matter, still serve, still connect people to something deeper than efficiency. The writer who comes weekly. There's a young man, maybe 25, who comes in every week. His name is Marcus. He owns a 1950s Smith Corona Silent, uses it to write poetry. He doesn't need repairs. His machine works perfectly. He comes to talk. I tried writing on my laptop, he tells Margaret one afternoon. I'd write a line, delete it, rewrite it, delete again. Hours passing, nothing finished. I was editing before I'd even finished the thought. The ease of deletion was killing my creativity. So you bought a typewriter? Yeah, found the Smith Corona at an estate sale, $20. Brought it home, loaded paper, started typing. And something changed. I couldn't delete. Once I typed a line, it existed. I had to keep going, and the poem started flowing. Not perfect, lots of mistakes, lots of awkwardness, but real, alive, complete. Margaret nods. She's heard versions of this story many times. Marcus continues. The sound matters too, the rhythm. When I'm typing, I can hear the meter of the poem, the spacing between words. The line breaks. It's physical, musical. On a computer, everything is silent. Typing is silent. But on a typewriter, you hear your writing. You feel it. It's different. You're describing the difference between analog and digital. Maybe, but it's more than that. It's about commitment, permanence. When I type a poem on my Smith Corona, it's done. That version exists. I can type another version, try different words, but the first version doesn't disappear. Both versions exist simultaneously. On a computer, only the latest version exists. The process disappears. Margaret thinks about this. He's right. Typewriting preserves process. Each draft is a physical object. Revision means retyping, which means you can compare drafts, see evolution, understand development. Digital writing erases process, keeps only the latest state. You're a rare one, she tells Marcus. Most people your age have never used a typewriter. I know, my friends think I'm crazy. Why make it harder? They ask. But it's not harder. It's different. It's better for what I need. The constraints help me. The permanence forces me to trust my instincts. The physicality keeps me engaged. Marcus leaves, promising to return next week. He always does, just to talk, to share what he's written, to connect with someone who understands why typewriters matter. Margaret adds his name to a list she keeps. People who use restored machines, who keep the tradition alive. It's a small list, but it grows slowly. Poets, novelists, journalists, students. People who've discovered that older technology sometimes serves human needs better than newer technology. The machines on display Margaret's shop window displays change periodically. She rotates typewriters in and out, showing different eras, different styles. Each display has a small card with the typewriter's story. 1935 Royal Portable, used by a war correspondent in obituary. Survived 3 campaigns, documented liberation of concentration camps. Later used by correspondent's daughter to write family memoir. 1968 Olivettis Lettera 32, designed by Marcello Nizzoli, considered most beautiful portable ever made. This one belonged to a poet who wrote 500 poems on it over 30 years, never jammed once. 1978 IBM Selectric 3, final evolution of Selectric line before computers ended the era, owned by law firm secretary who typed 10,000 pages per year for 20 years. Still works perfectly. People stop to read the cards, look at the machines. Sometimes they come in to ask questions. Sometimes they bring their own typewriters, wanting to add to the story. An old man brings in a 1940s Remington. I typed my college thesis on this, want to give it to my grandson. He's going to college, wants to write. Think he'll appreciate it? Margaret examines the Remington. Good condition, needs minor cleaning. I do, especially if you tell him the story, make it personal. It's not just a typewriter, it's your college experience, your grandfather's gift, a connection between generations. The man smiles. Can you put a card with it? Tell the story. Margaret writes the story on a small card, tucks it in the case with the restored Remington. The man takes it to give his grandson. Another story preserved, passed on. Late night. Typing, it's 11 p.m. The shop is closed. Margaret sits at her workbench with her personal typewriter, a 1961 Olympia SM3, German-made, considered by many the finest portable ever manufactured. She's owned it for 30 years, uses it for personal writing. She loads paper, adjusts margins, positions her hands, begins typing. Not a story for customers, not documentation. Just thoughts, reflections, memories, the things she thinks about when surrounded by machines that remember. The keys are smooth under her fingers. The mechanism is perfectly adjusted. She maintains this machine obsessively. Each keystroke is crisp, precise. The words appear on paper, black on white, permanent. She types about the shop, about the stories she collects, about Mrs. Chen's Royal, James's Selectric, the journalist's Hermes, about Marcus and his poetry, about the grandfather's Remington. She's documenting the documentation, preserving the stories of preservation. When she finishes, she pulls the paper from the Olympia, reads what she's written. It's rough, stream of consciousness, not polished, but it's real, immediate, honest. The kind of writing typewriters encourage. Forward momentum, no looking back. Trust your first instincts. She files the pages in her folder with all the other stories, her own contribution to the archive. The question of relevance. People ask Margaret sometimes, why does this matter? Typewriters are obsolete. Why waste time fixing them? She has answers now, developed over decades. Typewriters represent a different relationship with writing. More deliberate, more committed, more physical. Some people work better within those constraints. Typewriters are beautiful machines, mechanical art. They deserve preservation the way any historical artifact does. Each typewriter has a story, the people who use them, the documents they created. Preserving the machines preserves those stories. But the deeper answer, the one she doesn't usually articulate, typewriters remind us that newer isn't always better, that efficiency isn't the only value, that limitations can be creative tools, that physicality matters, that ritual and tactility and permanence serve human needs that digital tools don't address. In a world of infinite digital possibility, typewriters offer finite analog constraint. And sometimes constraint is exactly what we need. Margaret will keep repairing typewriters as long as people bring them to her. As long as someone wants to connect with these machines, with their history, with the different way of writing they enable, the shop will stay open, the stories will accumulate, the machines will remember, and somewhere, someone will sit down at a restored typewriter, load paper, and begin typing. Feeling the resistance of the keys, hearing the mechanism, watching words appear on paper, permanent and real, connected to a tradition stretching back a century, forward into an uncertain future. The keys remember, and Margaret makes sure they keep remembering.